Before we begin today's episode, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and future. Hey guys, it's your host CJ from Earthbound Era Podcast. Welcome to another episode. It's been a little while, but I'm really keen to get back into it. I've got a few guests lined up, which I'm really excited to show you and introduce you to because they've got so much to give. I wanted to talk about recently that I went to a renegade festival that was called Subterra. Oh my God, it was amazing. It was so much fun. It was like based around like D&B, bass music, like dub, like just absolutely disgusting glitch stuff. And it was amazing. Like the whole community was just like one of those ones where by the end of it, you know everyone's name and like, you know everybody walking past you and you're just like, oh, good morning, coffee time. Like it was just really beautiful. And that's what I love about bush doofs like that. And it was only like, I could be wrong, like 200, 300 people. It was so much fun. Like this is what I live for. And the best part about it, oh my gosh, it was so funny. We were driving through on this dusty road, my poor little car that has just been washed. Driving through and there's like a donkey there and a donkey there. And I'm like, oh my God, there's fucking hundreds of donkeys. And it was hilarious. Like we would literally wake up in the morning feeling like dusty as fuck from the night before. And you just hear, ee-ah, ee-ah. It was very, very beautiful. And the other part of it was, it wasn't that far away from the airport. And every like 10 or so minutes, we were like right under where the airplanes would land on the landing strip. And it was just like donkeys everywhere, bush doof happening, everyone in these crazy outfits, airplanes flying over the top of us. Like, what? And there was this song by this guy called Dysphemic. I think that's how you pronounce it. And the songs were like talking about like Tyrannosaurus Rex and like koala drop bears and like, I've just like never been to a festival that was just like funny. Like it was just funny. Like I loved it. But that's pretty much my recap on Subterra. And also one of the other highlights that doesn't matter at all, but I was like, oh my God, that's so good. They had little lights in the in the toilets. Because usually when you go to a toilet at a festival at night, it's like pitch black and you're trying to like use your phone to like light it up and you're like trying to fucking go to the toilet at the same time. It's like not a vibe. And they had little lights in there. So even though that's no one else's highlight, that was one of my highlights. But basically, yeah, I just wanted to like jump on and like do a little catch up. I recently just finished my level 1 in Auslan Sign Language, which feels really, really good. I feel like I'm giving back to the community in like trying to communicate with people who struggle to communicate with people on the daily, you know, especially being hard of hearing, deaf, people who actually can't speak. So I feel like, yeah, it feels really good to have that certificate and I have to do 2 more levels before I can be qualified. So that's pretty much a bit about me, what's been going on. But yeah, I am really keen to introduce you to my next guest. I'm so excited. So let's get into it. We're talking about shit, piss, fuck, cut, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and snot. And on the FM today, we're actually experiencing a lot of technical difficulties, which is my brain cells.
You should not have told me how that fucking thing goes.
Mate, those buttons.
Cut up, thick mate.
Those buttons are be depressed.
You got press my buttons.
I got depressing buttons.
You see what happens when you press my depressing buttons.
So, I haven't seen you in fucking yonks.
Yeah.
I feel like the last time I probably saw you was when you spear tackled Nath.
What?
I
sucked his toes.
Oh, you did suck his toes. You full like spear tackled him and was like, what did you say?
Bro, I have no idea. It was like,
it was hilarious. It was like
I blacked out.
And she just shoved Nathan's 3-day-old doof foot in her mouth. And that is now my FAP content.
Dude, I saw him and you. I saw you first in the snake pit and I hadn't seen Nathan yet. I'd just seen you. And I was like, oh, this is my fucking time. And I like went up behind him and I was like, yes, it's go time. Tackle. And he was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, don't ask questions. And it was brilliant. Yeah.
That's
one of my
sexy.
best.
I fucking love that. And that was like in March last year.
No, that was this year.
This year.
That was this year.
This year is basically last year.
But also like it's been a year.
It's been a
fucking year, bro.
What have you been doing, dog?
Bro, I've been not living here.
True.
Yeah.
Where you at?
Well, I was up north in the Northern River.
With the
Slay. Yeah.
It's like anyone's dream in Melbourne, I feel.
It wasn't like a conscious decision.
True.
It kind of happened accidentally, but I think it was. Yeah, so what kind of happened was I went to travel in January and did the van life thing for a couple of months. I always wanted to live with my nana who lives in Port Macquarie. So when I grew up, my nana always lived in Port Macquarie. So I only saw her like once or twice a year and then sometimes like not for a couple of years. So then I left in the van. I left with my partner, Brandon. We left in the van like mid-January. And then he dropped me off at Nana. I stayed with Nana for like a couple of months. And, you know, we were always doing sort of like back and forth, like because he got a job in Byron.
Oh.
And then I was like, I kind of want to suss out like what Byron's like. I'd never been before. And everyone was always like, Belle, like you've got to go to Byron. And I was like,
so fitted in Byron.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I've just got to see what the fuss is about, you know? So then I went up but at the time I was like so socially anxious, babe. I was like, I don't belong here.
I can't even talk
Back
to
to
a
Nana.
watermelon.
Back to Nana. So I went back to Nana. So
You went back to Nana's.
yeah, I did. Yeah. And I was having the best fucking time with Nana. Like I was like aqua aeroboing. Like we were walking with her friends. Like I was like fully immersed in her life. And it was so fantastic and I learned so much.
Yep.
But then it got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm not actually not living my life. I'm living in someone else's life, which it was like perfect and amazing and I'm so grateful. But I was like, what? Yeah, like I want to experience what my routine looks like up north if I want to be here. And yeah, and then I was in Byron with Brandon at one point and Sammy from Live Your Lemon called me and he was like, dog, like you've got to come to Esoteric. And I was like, it's actually not in my plan to become an esoteric babe. I was like, no, I'm on this like solo journey. Like I'm just getting to know myself. And he was like, shut the fuck up, cunt. Like you've got to come. We need a cafe manager. Like there's no one else. Like fucking be there.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God. And he was like, follow the flow, babe. And I was like, God damn it. So at that time I was like, fine, I'm going to go home. And I'd already planned to go to Burning Seed. So I was like, okay, well, if I go home, I'll go to Esso, and then pretty much went straight to Esso to Burning Seed. But in my head, I was like, I was done with the trip. I was just moving back home. And I was like, fuck yeah. And then obviously I went to Esoteric. Sucked.
The best.
The best.
The best.
Had the best time of my fucking life. And I was like, cool, after Esso, I'm going to go home. And then I guess I just didn't. Like I went to, so after spending like, so Esso was at the March or end of March. Can't remember. And I'd spent the first couple months of the year just by myself. Like I was with Brandon, I was with Nana, but it was very much like me getting to know myself. And like last year, you know, I lived in a share house of like 4 or 5 people at a time where there was like genuinely not a day to myself. And it was fantastic. It was so special. It was amazing. I learned so much. But I was like, I still don't know myself.
Yes.
I don't know who the fuck I am. And I don't know who I am without the reflections of other people. So I wanted to just be on my own journey and like actually get to know myself. I used to find it like confusing and like sort of offensive when people would be like, this is something that you would like, or like, oh, you're so like this. Because I'd be like, how do you know me and I don't know me? So after spending those months just like fully getting to know myself, understanding how I navigate life and what I like doing, what I don't like doing, and what wakes me up in the morning and what energizes me. When I was at Esoteric, it was like this playground to explore what I had just learned about myself.
Yes.
And it was the first time where I had socialized all year.
Yeah.
Like I had not done anything social with people my age.
Brandon and...
It was just Brandon, Nana, and Nana's friends.
Yeah.
Which was divine and perfect, but people my age, it was the first time that I'd seen my friends all year. Like it was... So I had such a good time at Esoteric that kind of energy, and I was like, wow, I want to keep exploring what it feels like to express the fullest of me. And then I went to Burning Sea where that was just amplified. And then after Burning Seed, I went back up to Byron for Blues Fairs. Like it was all kind of consecutive.
That's right. Yeah, because I feel like I've seen you at a lot of festivals over the last 12 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, which is hectic and like, but like so great. And then when I went up to Blues Fest, I had such a good time at Blues Fest, and because I knew people now in the area that I'd met at the festivals, Tay was about to go home and my body was just like, you're not actually going home. And I was like, oh, okay, well, in my head, like, I'm going to keep going home. I'm going to go back to Melbourne. And I just planned and I was functioning from that. And then we were laying there, we were talking about going home and, like, driving home and stuff. And my body was like, nah, like, you're actually staying here.
So your body, not your head, was telling
it didn't make any
this
sense.
is what we're doing.
Yeah, like, there was nothing in me that was, like, going to get in that car and be like, yes, we're going home. Like, it didn't feel complete.
Yeah.
And it was such an interesting thing to also navigate. Like, my whole world was home and I didn't have the van anymore. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a place to live. I only had my festival gear.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, is fine. But, like, I had no casual clothes. Like, all I got is doof skirts and scarves.
Oh, that'll do.
Which that'll do.
That'll do.
I mean, yeah, that's all I wear anyway. But then I just said to Tay, I was like, I actually think I'm staying. And she was like, okay, great. That's awesome. So she drove me back to Nana's. So I sought refuge at Nana's, which was a couple hours south of Byron. And I stayed with Nana for like a week and like just kind of tied my whole life up. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, am I going to stay up here? Where am I living? Like, how am I going to get all my things up here? And then it all kind of worked out really divinely. My best friend, Paige, shout out to Paige, drove my car up with all of my stuff. I found a house in that time. Like, it all felt like bang, bang, bang. Here we fucking go.
Yes.
And I was like, sick.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's explore. Like, why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was a really long-winded story.
No, we love that.
Thanks.
That's what we want here.
Thanks.
But like, I didn't know all of that. And that's kind of like really amazing that it wasn't really your head telling you, I should do this. It was your body being like, I'm reluctant to go home and there's a reason for it.
Exactly.
So I'm going to just follow what I'm feeling and
Yes.
check into my senses
Yes.
and just figure it out along the way. And like, that's kind of why I wanted you on here, because I've been watching your journey and I've just been so inspired by that. And like,
so
you're
nice.
just somebody that like inspires me to try and be like, you know what, I should try and like follow my body more and like just kind of do things that are out of my comfort zone, you know? So it's like kind of led you in a way that you wouldn't have planned initially in the mind.
No, exactly. Well, you can only, like, the mind will always restrict you and your mind will always come up with reasons why to not do something, and it doesn't make logical sense, you know?
Excuses.
Nothing makes logical sense.
Yes.
But then when you think about it, it's like us even being here doesn't make logical sense.
Yes.
So you try and explain, you know, our existence. It's like, oh, it actually doesn't make any sense. So how can anything make any sense? So if nothing makes any sense, like why not?
Nothing matters then.
Nothing matters. And
like,
yeah, it's taken me a really long time to drop into like the intuition and the body.
yeah.
But once like that is where we should lead from, because it's just like that is actually our soul's purpose rather than like our brain trying to be like, oh, but none of my things are up here and that doesn't make any sense. It's like,
I'm too stuck
matter.
up there, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, I want to go like travel here and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, oh, but I got the cat, so I better stay here. You know what I mean? Like, it's things like that where it's like, we could just find a sitter or like things like that. I'm just like so stuck in the head that it's stopping me from experiences. And that didn't happen before I had cats, I think.
yeah.
But like having this like like you know, responsibility. So it's just like, yeah, I feel like I need to like kind of overcome the excuses in the mind and just live.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
can, because I think that that cat and that responsibility, like it is a fair, like it is a understandable reason as to why you don't have to do things. But also you need to kind of be critical as to whether you're being like, is that a reason or am I just scared?
Scared and holding myself back.
And I'm using it as a
crutch.
Yeah, like as a excuse.
I think so. I think like a part of it can be like a bit of a safety security thing. It's like, oh, well, I know my home and I know everything here. It's like, the thing is, the whole reason that I feel like I was put on this earth was to travel.
Totally.
And I'm not fucking doing that.
Yeah.
Like, man, I mean, I've done a little bit, but in the last year, like, bro. Yeah.
What scares you the most about being in your, out of your safety?
It's like I know everything here, and I know that if I need help with things, I've got my friends, my family, but it's like if you're over there and like it's just say maybe me and Nathan, it's like we can't depend on people to just be like, oh no, it's fine, just do this instead, or like I don't know. I think there's this block there a little bit, and yeah, I think since COVID, it was kind of similar to how you were like, taking time away from people to learn about yourself. It's like COVID was that for me. I was like in my own home and like realizing like, fuck, do I really know myself out of like, but mine was opposite though, because I had to learn myself by myself instead of with people. Because when I was with people, it was just funny, silly, all of that shit, which we love.
Yeah.
But what do I think?
Yeah.
It's weird like that.
It is. And I feel like we're not actually taught how to get to know ourselves.
No.
And like it's taking me 24 years to even understand and accept that I don't know myself.
Literally.
And yeah, like we rely on other people's reflections of us to be like, hey, you're like this, or also rely on like our reactions to certain situations to be like, oh, that's how I react to that. But also like if no one was there and no one's perception of you was relevant, who do you actually present to the world and what do you want to do?
Literally.
And like the only way to get to know that is to put yourself out of your comfort zone, which is terrifying. But
you have to do it to be able to like gain different experiences and like meet people and learn things about yourself that is going to change, your life.
Yeah. And I think that also when you meet new people who don't know you and don't have any past reference points about who you have been and how you are, and like having friends that you've been friends with for years is so fucking beautiful until it becomes a limitation on your growth, because you're just kind of like, okay, well, I know that I've been that person for years and years and years and years and years, and you can't just forget that. I can't forget that. But I'm now this person, and how do I interact with people from my past
with your new self?
With a new self.
Yes.
And that's why I think meeting new people, and that's why I think people love traveling so much, is because they get to show up authentically every day as whoever the fuck they are that day, and no one has any idea who they've been.
Yeah, it always challenges you to be like a better person in a way, because it's like, oh, well, if you've done something in the past that you always think about or something, and then you meet somebody new and they don't know anything about you, it's like, I'm going to be the best person I can be now so that I can like heal that part of myself that I didn't like in a way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you were living in a van for a bit.
I was.
How was?
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So challenging, but like incredible. And like I'll do it again like ASAP,
Really? So what were like 3 things that you frothed about van life and 3 things that you were like, I cannot do that?
Okay. So the things that I loved the most was, I mean, I guess everyone always says it, but it is the freedom. Yes. It's like you can literally drive anywhere, go anywhere. Like you don't have to be like, oh, where are we going to book to stay tonight? It's like, oh, we've actually got our house and we can sleep wherever we want, obviously with limitations and like restrictions. And like that's also a challenge too, is that there's actually like fuck all places where you can sleep on the streets now.
Yeah, because it's like semi-illegal in a lot of places.
It is,
which is kind of writ.
Yeah, it is. And it's super classist, and they don't factor for people that are actually sleeping, like that are displaced from homes and all that sort of stuff. And that's a whole different can of worms.
It's just so disappointing that it's a law thing.
It is.
Like what?
It is. Like we have the privilege of choice. Like we chose to live in a van and recognize that as a privilege. Like a lot of people don't actually have the privilege of choice. And
then they're cutting more out because they're like, no, we don't want a van parked here. It's like, dude.
It's like, where do you want people to go?
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gnarly.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, like, you can pull up right next to a waterfall. You can pull up right next to a beach. You can be right next to a river, like, and you are just, like, I've never felt so connected to the earth and the elements as I did during that trip, because it was just like, yes, we have this van that's our home, but the extension of our home is the earth.
Yes.
So it was kind of like there's nowhere to hang except in nature, right?
Yes,
and it's
I
like
live for that.
we've always been like nature girlies, but it's always been like I'll go home and then I'll go outside.
Right.
But it's actually like you're full-time outside. So it's like
That's the true home.
yeah, that's the true home, and like and you learn that you are truly nature and that you are always home when you are in nature because you are it, you know, like you are your home. And yeah, it's just stunning to, and also because the van, which is also a bad thing about the van, is that like temperature regulation is like fucked, right? And we travel in summer up north, motherfucker, and it was like
just like waterfalls from the pits, baby, like
yeah, and you're just laying there and like you got little fans and stuff, but it's honestly just like it's so challenging, and I'm not one that like loves the heat. Like I can't even sauna for too long. I don't like being in a bath. Like I like fucking freak out.
Which is funny because you live in Mullumbimby.
Yeah, I know it's hilarious. I know it's hilarious, but
She's adapting.
I'm getting
She's
used
growing.
to it.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, well we're hot. Let's just find a body of water. Like that was our instinct. So it was also like you felt like you were so connected to the ancestors and like yeah, and it was just like you had to swim. Like it was like. And it was super primitive, yeah. And
I love that.
And you also learn like your body's instincts is like my body wants to cool down, but my body wants water. And I'm not the kind of person that grew up really connected to the water. Like I was always kind of more connected to different elements and stuff. Like water, I was like, I don't know. Like I grew up in a pool, like with a pool in my house, and I was just kind of like, nah. Like I'll swim every now and then. Yeah. You know, it wasn't something I had to do. But then after that trip where it was like vital for my being and I could really appreciate the magic that water is, I was like, I actually can't live without water. Yeah. And we can't. Like fucking like we can't. But like anyway.
It's just like really like special. It's like I guess in like, you know, this day and age or this era where it's so like stuck in the whole like, I don't know, you're hot. Aircon.
Totally.
Inside, aircon.
Yes.
But it's like when you mention that, it's like, oh shit, like that's like literally what our primitive souls would have done back in the day. Like,
totally.
Hot equals water, go and swim, spend times in the lagoons, the billabongs, whatever it is. And it's just like shit, like it's kind of fucked that our brains have just kind of been like aircon. Which yes, is easy and it's more like you don't have to travel too far for it most of the time and stuff. But like maybe we should try and like cool down in more natural ways because everyone's trying to do like more natural things. It's like, oh, even when it comes to heat and cold, like considering that too, like that is so beautiful. I love that. Something I've never thought about actually.
Yeah. And I think that, I just remember a few times pulling up and just being like, we were actually searching for water because it was like, there's no other way to cool down. So I think that like, the regulating your own temperature in a van is like challenging but also beautiful.
Yes.
Me and Brandon are very lazy. Like we're not lazy, but like because we took our time on this trip, we weren't like, okay, we've got to do an 8-hour stint. We were just like, bro, we can drive 40 minutes and go to the next waterfall. Like
that's facts. Yeah.
So we didn't really have any kind of like, we're going to do really long stints where I think that would be a factor. But
we did a really long stint. We drove from like Melbourne to Bohemian Beat Freaks in Queensland.
Holy fuck. It
literally took us like, I think we didn't really sleep that much. I think we like did like one little nap and then we just kept going. It was like, don't ever do it. We spent like $1,000 or more in petrol.
Yeah. Petrol's so fucking expensive.
It was like fucked. And like, only because we were like, oh, we don't want to buy a tent. We don't want to like drag all this stuff. Like, but we were like, it'll be easier if we just drive never again.
It's not.
And it was like 18. It was like 18 hours.
Yeah, it would have been, possibly even more because it's like six. It would be like it was 20 something hours.
Yeah, it was 28. I remember 8 being in there. Never again. So you didn't have to do anything like that.
No, nothing like that.
God.
No.
Yeah.
No, but like, if you festivals interstate, just fucking fly.
Just fucking fly. Unless it's New South Wales. I feel like New South Wales.
Yeah, like if you're going like a couple hours, fuck yeah. But if you're going up to Queensland, because me and Tate did that last year, but we drove up to Elements Festival.
Yeah.
And Tate's a fucking gun behind the driver's seat and she can just drive.
Yeah.
I cannot. No. After 3 hours, I'm unstimulated, I'm bored, I need to stop.
Yeah.
So it's not actually like within my capacity. I'm like, no, I'm done.
And like I can like be determined and like go in for it, but I'm like, no one talk to me.
Yeah. And you kind of have to.
like when I used to work at Whole Foods with you and you try and talk to me when I'm making coffee and I'm just like,
yeah, I can only do one task at once. I can't fucking do this. You're like, Isabel, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, I'm like putting these coffees on the fucking plate, being like, oh, it's okay. And you're like, literally, shut the fuck up.
No, I still fucking loved you though. Like, you were the funniest cunt. Working at Whole Foods with you, oh my God.
Dude, it was the best.
No,
it was the best.
like,
they were the golden days, bro.
They were the golden days. I was talking to Ben recently, who used to be our manager at fucking Whole Foods Cafe. And it was like so good. Like it was just a community and we would like come to work and we would like work and we would have customers that were like our like friends and like like-minded, like holistic. And like by the end of the day, this is like my favorite memory is like when you would leave and say bye to like, you know, people in the cafe and people in the retail, everyone would be like, bye, I love you.
I know.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Cries in conservation.
Yeah, literally. I was like literally got home from work and I'm like, I want to be back in the cafe.
No one loves me in conservation.
What was your first impression of me at Whole Foods?
Oh, dude, like probably intimidation.
Really?
Probably, dude. Like you're a sick cunt.
You were like so sweet when you first came in. Young. You were so. How are you? 20?
I was 19.
You were 19, that's right. You came in and you were just like this burst of like bubbly energy. Like straight away I was just like, this chick is like on one. And I was almost intimidated by like how happy you were, I think. If that makes, I don't know how to explain it. Because I was like, oh, like, I guess it wasn't the forefront thought. I think it was just like a subconscious thing. But when I try and put words to it, it was like, oh, how is she that happy? Like, I just love that she's just so like happy and vibrant, upbeat, and like I was like, I felt like I couldn't always be that. Like I'm just such a roller coaster of a human. Big time. How do you stay like so like upbeat and positive and shit?
Well, I mean, I don't always you know. I don't always, like, I have my fucking moments, you know, where I'm just like, holy fucking shit.
We're all humans, like.
But I think that like I just like see so much magic in life and I just like love like everything. And I think that like, I mean, like I went through years and years of depression when I was like a teenager. And then it was like when you taste what life really is and also you reframe your mind to be like, maybe I'm looking too big, you know, maybe I've got to look smaller. Like, I feel like we all kind of want to live this like grand life where it's like extravagant and like we're doing all of these things and all this success and stuff.
Yes.
But the real magic is like through connection and through like love and, you know, all of these little moments. And when you notice the little moments, you know, that's when, which I think is what happens when we're on psychedelics, right?
Yes.
Is like you forget about the big picture and you are so in tune with the intricacies of life.
It forces you to connect with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like the same thing that happened when you're on psychedelics could happen when you're sober, but you appreciate the magic more when you're on psychedelics. You're like, oh my God, this is so divine. This is magical. I can't believe you're right in front of me, which is like, which if you were sober, you would be like, oh, hey, like, you know, like you're there. But it's like.
But it's like you're appreciating on such a massive level.
Where it's just like everything is just like you feel so much more connected and grateful for the tiny little things.
Yes.
And I think that like I try and take that into my like sober existence where I'm like, okay, well, if I was on mushrooms right now, you know, like, which I usually
eating people's feet at a doof.
Yeah. But it's just like, just really integrating and functioning from the idea that life is a playground where it's like,
love that.
It's like, it's not that deep. Like, obviously there's so much depth to existence, but realistically, we're all just here to like fuck around. Yeah. And we're here to have fun and we're here to play. And we do experience these like fucking heavy, dense stuff, but how can you bring light into that to be like, okay, well, that was just a part of my human existence.
Facts.
And I enjoyed experiencing that, or maybe I didn't, but it's not good or bad, it just is. And it's just like, okay, next thing, like what else is possible?
I love that because when you mention like, oh, I just pretend I'm on Mushies and like, you know, having that person in front of you and you're like, oh my God, this is so magical. It kind of reminds me of like at Subterra, I was at this stuff recently and it was just the best. And basically what I did was I got a whole bunch of watermelon, cut it up into little pieces and I was like, oh, I'm going to feed people down at the stage because I've seen other people do that before. And I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. Like half of these people probably haven't eaten in 2 days, you know?
Yeah, fully.
Like,
the people actually knew it.
they knew it.
No one wants a toasty.
Yeah. Just like, live your lemon shout out.
We hate your lemon.
Oh my God. But basically I cut him up and I like walked around the dance floor and just like the amount of like awe that people when they saw that you were giving them food, they were like, oh my God, thank you so much. And like usually like in a sober person's brain, they're like, yeah, well exactly. Like in a sober person's brain, it's like, oh, that's just because they're like, you know, on a level and they're like amazed by everything. But it's like, fuck, imagine if you could have.
But like that should be our constant experience.
Integrate that into your daily life and then like your gratefulness. Kind of what, you know, the page that you were talking about before, one of our mates, she talks so huge on gratefulness and like we look at her stories and it's just like blue sky today, so grateful for that. And I'm like, fuck, you know, like
that's it. And it's like, yeah, and actually on that food thing, I had a moment when I was on acid at Dragon Dreaming last year where I came back to the campsite and we'd eaten chips and gravy during the day and then we'd taken the acid. And anyway, and I saw this little like cardboard thing of like a little bit of chips and gravy. And I was like, oh my God, past Belle, I love you. Like, I did this for you. Like, and I was just like, wow. And then I just sat there like in ceremony with these fucking chips and gravy where I was just like, and like that moment I was like, food and life is meant to be experienced. It was like, I'm not eating chips and gravy right now. I'm experiencing chips and gravy. And like when you kind of like, when you reframe your mind to be like, what do I get to experience today? Not like, oh, what do I have to do today? It's like, oh, what do I get to experience today?
I could really take that into my life. Instead of what do I have to do today, have what will I experience today?
Yeah.
That is.
What do I get to experience?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to definitely use that. Also chips and gravy.
Also chips and gravy.
True.
Like, man.
Chips are like my God, basically.
Dude, fully. And like gravy, man, underrated.
Bruh.
Like like it's rated, but it's still underrated. It's kind of like garlic bread. You can never rate garlic bread enough. It's
Cheesy
always
garlic
underrated.
bread?
Oh my God.
Bruh.
Man, this shit's so good. And
So
it's like,
yum.
how does it just exist?
Like, back on like the whole psychedelics thing, like at the start of this podcast I did a little like pre-thing, like what I've been up to and stuff, and I was talking about how I met this chick and we were both like had a couple of little mushrooms and we ended up just like connecting, and like it was like the first time I'd met her that weekend.
Oh, yum.
And we just like were stuck at the hip and we are like, let's go over here and let's go over there, and we went to like all these different, we went down to the river and we met this like random person and like we decided his name was Shane. And then we're like, Shane, can you baptize us? And he's looking at us, he's like this older duffer dude, and he's like,
oh God, I've only done it 52 times.
Yeah, he's just like, I've already fucking baptized 17,000 duffers.
You guys as well. Fuck.
Yeah, here we go. And anyway, this guy, I need to tell you this story, guys. It's fucking so weird. So we're tripping balls, and this guy called Shane, he's just like, you know, bit of an old guy, and we were like, anyway, Shane, nice to meet you, let's go back to the stage. And he kind of like started following us because he wasn't with anybody else, and he's like, oh, that stage back there is such a bad fucking vibe. And we're like, uh-oh, and we're both like on this beautiful rainbow at the moment.
Like you don't even think bad vibes exist.
We're like no, what do you mean? We're like no, and then anyway we were like, oh, we need to like run away from this poor guy. So anyway we kind of like run away because also 2 girls and some old person, you don't need someone following you around.
I mean,
like anyway, so we like got to dance when we're having a dance, and then this guy goes up to Nathan, my partner, and he's like, are those 2 girls fucking with me? And we're like, anyway, Nate turns around and he's like, yeah, probably. We weren't fucking with him. We wanted him to be a part of the improv, you know, but he was not catching our drift, which is so fair enough because we were we were literally like on cloud 9. Anyway, so we just like, me and this chick were just connecting and like telling each other, like fully improving this whole scenario where we're like talking about Shane and like, oh, you know, bloody Shane, off you fuck, fucking this, that. We're down at the stage 3 hours later, still on this level, dancing with all these random people, having the best time. And then she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I've just realized something. I'm like, what? And she's like, the reason that Shane wouldn't baptize us is because Shane equals Satan. And I was like, we're like, the S and the S. Oh my God, we've just realized that's why he wouldn't. And it's just like this dumb shit that I love about just psychedelics and
Yeah.
dopes that you're just playing.
Bro, it brings you back to your child. And it's like, and you literally feel so childish. Like you're just playing around like.
It's like when you're like a kid being like, oh, you be the chef and I be the customer. It's literally just that, but like on an adult mint level.
Yes.
And it was just like so, and like usually when I have psychedelics, I can't connect with like new people that well because I sometimes get a bit in my head and shit. Nah, it was just all gone. Like I was like,
so good.
And I remember telling myself, like before having like mushrooms, I always like hold them and like give the intention and like, you know, give my thanks because they're like a powerful thing.
Totally.
You know, like you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
So now that I've started doing that, it's always been a really beautiful time.
Yeah, because my intention is to laugh, like whatever it is,
Have
you know.
fun.
And then you might take the same mushrooms in your bedroom at night, and that my intention is to like, you know, dive deep, and then it does. But it's like your intention is actually so powerful when it comes to psychedelics.
And you just put yourself out there and you're like, oh, wow, I got exactly what I wanted from that. And I reckon it was probably the best mushroom trip I've ever had.
Wow, that's so good.
So good.
That's so great.
So
my
fun.
My housemate up north, Georgie, fucking legend. We took mushrooms one day and went to the beach. And we spoke our intention, and my intention was just like laugh and have fun, as it always fucking is.
Yes.
And she was like, my intention is to like see dolphins and pat a dog and laugh. And we literally went to the beach, pat dogs, saw dolphins, had the best time and laughed. And it was like, that is how tangible our reality is as well. It's
Fuck
like
off. I love that.
fully. And it's just like you can literally like pull this reality apart and decide what you want to experience. And like, yeah, mushrooms help you access it because you're more like conscious and aware and open and like, and appreciative of those little things. And yeah, it's stunning. It's so powerful.
I love that. Like literally, like I haven't thought about doing like a specific intention. Like, tonight I'm going to meet this person.
Yeah.
Like I might try that.
Try it. Just play with it.
Because like everything is energy. Like that's just my belief. And like, I feel like when you're putting out what you want, it's going to be reciprocated always, even down to like the smallest thing like that. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think like, yeah, experiment with it.
Yeah.
And just be like, what can I actually receive, you know? And just, it's kind of like manifestation. It's like, yeah, manifesting is like, you can write down all your hopes and dreams and maybe they don't come into fruition, but maybe one thing does and that's awesome, and be like, okay, well, that was obviously in alignment with what I'm ready to receive, and like maybe those things will come back later. But it's also like, if you don't try, you're never going to know. And like, yeah, you can just play with this reality as much as you fucking want and just see what happens.
I love that idea. I feel like sometimes I think of myself like a sim.
Oh, dude,
just a
same.
sim.
Dude, same. Dude, I walk around like a sim sometimes. I'm just like,
oh my God, you are such
I'm
a
like,
fucking
fuck,
sim.
like the person controlling my sim right now has no idea what it's doing. And then I'm like, come on. I'm like, okay, we're going this way.
We're going to like paint for 6 hours and you're going to be skilled like a masterful skillness by 2 days time from now.
Yeah.
It's like, but you could be building those skills in real life, bro.
Exactly.
Like, nah.
But yeah, like just treat yourself like a sim character.
Love that.
And just be like, what am I going to do today?
Not take it too seriously.
Not take it too seriously.
Yeah.
It's not that serious.
What is a change that you've made that has completely transformed your life?
Wow.
Bruh.
What is a change that I made? Oh my God. Is this the cockroach?
Cockroach? Did you say cockroach?
I can actually make this sound weird. No, I can't really, but anyway. What's a change that I've made? Oh. A change that I've made. I think, okay, there's two things, I think. The first thing I think ties into everything that we've been speaking about is like actually allowing the fullest version of myself to be seen by others.
Facts.
And I think that I've always been a bit of a pushover. Shout out to my pushovers.
Really?
Yeah, bro, fully. And like, but I think that when I realized that that's actually like just a lack of boundaries, but also I've always struggled with communicating that. I didn't even know what a boundary was until like last year.
That's interesting because I've always viewed you as somebody who like is very strong in there. Like I don't know why.
Yeah, I am now.
Maybe yeah.
But
maybe that's what I'm seeing.
It's taken so much time to not just do whatever I want and follow my path and myself, rather than just be like, okay, well, you know, that's what this person wants me to do. Or and even in friendships, I've really struggled with boundaries where I've like, because I think as well, like when you're naturally a more giving person than receiving, it's easy to to not have boundaries within that.
Right.
And I think that a lot of the time that I spent this year by myself was realizing that fact that I'd actually crossed a lot of my boundaries within myself because I didn't have any.
Right.
And I was like, I just get really easily caught up in other people's worlds where I'm like, if someone wants me to do something for them, but I've got a million things I need to do for myself, like my answer was always yes. And that's a beautiful, like, part of me, I guess, but also it can be a limitation where I'm like, fuck, I'm actually sacrificing my life, my existence.
Yes.
So I think that, yeah, having boundaries and also, like, because you can have boundaries but then not know how to communicate them.
Gotcha.
So it's like, okay, my boundary is that if I've got things to do, I actually don't have the space to give to others. And then I can know that, but then when a challenge arises where I have to actually embody that,
Yeah.
that's also a different challenge. It's like, okay, I've decided that I've got this boundary and now actually this person wants me to do this thing and I actually don't have the space to do that. And being okay with being like, hey, I actually don't have space to help you right now. Let me know if I can support you in another way, but I've got to do some stuff. So
It's like 9 times out of 10, like no one's going to be like, oh, how dare you need time for yourself.
no, exactly.
You know, like, and that people
yeah.
understand, but there's something in our heads that are like, but we just don't want to let people down.
No, fully.
But like realistically, like there's so many days on this world. We're going to have time to see people. And if people are going to make you feel fucking guilty for looking after yourself, your health, your mental health, what it is.
Fuck them off.
Fuck them off. Off
exactly.
your fuck.
Off your fuck.
Off you fuck.
Yeah. And you can't give like you can't give when you haven't given to yourself. You can't love when you don't love yourself. Like
Yes.
You need to take care of yourself and so that you can take care of others. So I think that integrating that practice into my life has been so incredible because also I've been able to show up better for other people when I've been actually showing up for myself and being like, okay, why am I showing all of these people love and I'll drop anything to help them out, but when it comes to me and my life, like I'm just neglecting my life and like my dreams and my goals and stuff. And so I think that that's a really big change that has actually been a really big struggle for me. And it's an ongoing struggle, you know, I will always be presented with this challenge because it's been so hard to integrate in my body what that actually feels like and looks like in reality.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I think the other biggest change is like actually believing in myself, and that like it's such a simple thing, and I think that simple thing actually changes everything.
Yes.
And it's kind of woven in the story of me moving up north because at one point I think after ESO I went back home and I was packing my bag to go to Burning Seed. And I was like in my childhood bedroom, like, you know, just reminiscing and all of my stuff is everywhere. And I had, I didn't even realize that I still had it, but I had these 2 letters drop out of this like book. And I was like, oh, okay, let's have a look. And it was my year 12 graduation letter from my parents. And it was a letter from my past self to my future self. And bro, I know. And I was like, I started crying before I even opened them because I was like, holy shit.
Did you fucking read it?
Yeah, so I read it and both of them. So my parents were like, yeah, we're so proud of you, whatever. And then they had this whole paragraph about the fact that like I don't believe in myself. They were like, we hope that one day you can believe in yourself the way that everyone believes in you and all that sort of stuff, right? And I was like fucking like bawling my eyes out. I was like, oh my gosh, like, because it was sad because I didn't at that point. I was like, I can't believe that like years and years later, I'm still struggling with this fucking issue where I don't believe in myself.
Yeah.
And then I read like a letter from my past self and it said the same. It was like, hey, future Belle, like I really hope you're out there killing it and like believing in yourself. Like it's, you know, it makes me so sad that you don't believe in yourself. Like hopefully we'll get there at some point. Like, and this was like years and years ago, bro. I'm talking like, you know, 2017, like 2016. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm betraying my past self constantly. And my, like, you know, I'm not betraying my parents, but it's like, when you feel like you have potential and you want to experience things, but then your mind gets in the way.
Yeah.
And then like you're looking at this letter from like a younger you that's still inside you, rooting for you.
Oh my God.
I was a fucking mess, bro. And from that moment I was like, bang. Like
really?
Yeah.
Took that 1 second to just be like, you know what? Fuck this.
Yep. It was just like this switch in my body because I was like, I actually can't go another year without believing in myself. And I was just curious. I was like, okay, what does my reality look like when I believe in myself? And And yeah, everything just like changed.
Look what you've achieved.
Yeah.
When did you find that letter?
That would have been like middle of March.
Dude.
Yeah.
And you've done so much in that time.
Yeah.
And like, that's actually insane that happened, because I remember like looking like on your socials one day and just being like, fuck, how does this bitch do it? You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I want to fucking do what she's doing. And like the fact that you've put into yourself, I want to believe in myself, is helping other people be like, I want to do that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, it's amazing. And like when you sent me a voice memo not that long ago, but like it still surprised me. You were like, oh, you're inspiring me. And I was like, what, me?
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I'm just doing me. But it meant so much, because it's like, that's the magic when so many, like if you are in just like full expression of yourself, it does invite people to be the same and to see what's possible and to, like we are each other's permission slip. It's like, I'm giving you a permission slip to live whatever life you want to fucking do, because I am. When you see someone else, like I also idolize people that I see living their dream life, and I'm like, wow, that's so fucking awesome that they've created that. Like, what do I want to create? And it's all possible.
Yep. And that's why like it's so good to be like around people who like, you know, like believe in themselves to an extent that they try things. And like I thrive off seeing my friends, family, whoever it is, acquaintances, do things that make them feel good. And like I thrive off seeing them do good stuff.
Yeah.
And even that good stuff could be, oh, they looked after themselves and stayed home and do what then, you know what I mean? It could be just those things, because it shines through the lens. Like, like I have a friend who's traveling at the moment, and like she's just been through hell and back, and only recently she's been able to find a community that is like perfect for her. And you can see it through the fucking photos that they put on Instagram. Like I know that like it's like you can filter all that shit, but like you can see when it's your friend, you can see it in their face that no, they're fucking living it now. And it just makes me so happy to see that.
Absolutely. And that's love. Like that's pure love. Like it's just unconditional, and you always want the best for everyone else. And it's just like, oh, it's so
healthy.
beautiful. It's healthy.
It's
yeah.
healthy. There's some people out there that thrive of seeing people fail.
I don't understand
What is with
that. I don't understand that.
That wigs me out, bro.
Right?
Like it wigs me.
Yeah.
Like I can't. I don't know. Maybe it's like, maybe they think, you know, if somebody fails that they're like another tier up, but it's like, it's not meant to be that. It's meant to be like collectively like supporting each other and having a mint time together, creating stories and talking like this. And
like someone else's success is never going to be at the detriment of yours.
Absolutely not.
Like you do all these fucking awesome things, and I'm like, fuck, CJ's so great. But that doesn't take away from like anyone else's life. Like
literally,
you are just existing, doing fucking epic stuff. Like we're not competing against each other in this world.
No,
we're just coexisting, and we should be celebrating each other every fucking day. Like and, it's stunning.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Stunning.
It's fucking stunning. It kind of reminds you of you know that I think it's called Into the Wild. Have you watched that?
No.
It's like a movie. I think it's called Into the Wild, and it's like this guy who, I think it's a true story. He like goes to like the Arctic, Antarctica. Fuck, I actually don't know much about this fucking movie.
What's the difference?
But the point of it is his name is Alexander Supertramp, and this guy.
Supertramp.
But he like basically like went into the wild and like was just living off the land, and like like he thought his happiness like was being just him and the earth. But he actually learned, and he had like one of these last journal entries, because he ended up dying off eating the wrong berry, sadly. Right. But one of his last journal entries, I know, poor cunt. But like his last journal entry was literally just saying like, the most happiness that you can have in your life is through human connection. Oh, and I've never forgotten that. I was like, true, because I guess through COVID, I was like trying to integrate myself back to like the social like events, and like I was like super anxious and shit. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
my God,
we all had to learn how to speak to people again.
Yeah.
It's like, and like, I don't know, I was like, maybe I just won't go to these things because like it's easier. But I was like, no, like human connection is where you find your happiness. And that's half the reason why I started this fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Because I got so many friends like yourself and a bunch of other people that have so much goodness to share and experiences. And like, this is where I thrive.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. But yeah, we're fucking social primal beings, where it's like we literally need and thrive other people, and there's space for like introversion and like being by yourself. Like,
facts.
It's fucking awesome, but like be by yourself and then share, and also like believe that you're worth sharing, and like you deserve a platform and you deserve like your voice, and like
Yes.
but yeah, there's like connection is
everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
Whether that's like talking to people, touch, like sitting with a tree, like it's just all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been fucking amazing. Talking to you. I feel like I didn't need to look at any of my questions because I was like, yep, tick, tick, tick. Like everything that you're talking about, I'm like, this is what I want. Like,
marvelous.
The real connection is just talking about But I do have a little game.
Okay. Oh my God.
All right. So I've got 2 would you rather questions.
Oh, Sunny.
And then like an interesting question that you have to guess.
Oh, wait, I have to guess the question.
You have to guess the answer.
Oh.
So we'll go with the sweet would you rather first. But I feel like since talking to you, I feel like I already know the answer. So would you rather follow your head or your heart? Pussy. Follow pussy. Follow yoni.
Well, yeah. Bow, 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 bow.
Bow, bow, bow. Is there...
Oh, fucking headbutt that shit. I'd like to follow my heart, please. Yeah.
We love that. Ooh, follow your heart.
Follow my heart.
You definitely are follow your heart.
Thank
Since
you.
this conversation, I'm like, yeah.
It's not easy, though.
No.
It's not easy.
Why?
Well, because we're in a head-driven world.
Facts.
Like, following your heart sometimes is like, what do you mean they're just like doing that because they feel like it? Like, that's not something, like, we're taught as a child, like, you can't do something just because you feel like it.
Have you thought about this?
Yeah, exactly. It's like mind. Like, and yeah, and then you realize that, like, that's actually not where the magic lies.
No.
It lies in your heart. But it takes so much training to be like, what does this even feel like? What does this space even feel like? How do I breathe into this? How do I listen to this? How do I trust this? Like, and it's like surrender. Like, maybe it doesn't make any fucking sense. It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's like you need to devote yourself to being like, oh, like, yeah, like really opening up that space and being like, what can I call in from here rather than here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew,
Slay.
I feel like from talking to you that we learnt that, which is really, really special. Now we're going
Go on.
Okay, so would you rather have telekinesis, moving things with your mind, or telepathy, reading minds?
I think I'd rather move things with my mind.
True.
Because like imagine if you could like be at home in bed and like put the kettle on and then like get your tea bag and like bring your tea over here.
That's facts.
Like it would be perfect. I don't have anything else. I think that I would, I'd probably rather move things. Like telepathy is like sick, but then I think it's also like
it could be detrimental.
I don't want to read your mind.
Well, the thing is, like, you could accidentally read minds as well, and like you're just like reading things that are like, I didn't want to know that.
I didn't want to know that. Why are you thinking that?
Like, you're like reading someone's mind. It's like, this bitch's breath stinks. And you're
You're like, holy fucking shit. But then if you're telekinesis, you can move the toothbrush over and be like,
oh, you can just see like
the toothbrush is just like declared. Yeah, you just like, you can live out your little like Matilda childhood dreams where I'm just like dancing in the kitchen, like making pancakes with my eyes, like telepathy would only be good if you could like have limitations on it where you'd be like, I could be like selectively telepathic.
Imagine if it was like all at the same time and you're like having all of that's pretty much my brain anyway. I feel like there's like eight conversations happening all at once.
Dude,
and I'm just
fully.
like,
yeah, you're just like, I cannot
Shut up!
It's like a filing cabinet to choose like which one you're going to say.
And it's like all unordered. Like, you know how some filing cabinets
like,
are like alphabetically ordered and this one is just fucked.
No, it's fucked. It's like my nana's house filing cabinet. Fucked.
Or not organised.
Not organised.
That hurts my brain.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. This word.
Meow.
You have to
I have to guess a word.
You have to guess a word.
Oh my God, slow.
This word starts with a C and ends with a T.
Cunt.
It is something that can be wet and soft inside, but hairy on the outside.
It has to be cunt.
What is it?
Carpet.
That's good.
Thanks.
But is it wet on the inside? I don't want to be in that house.
Mine is sometimes.
Ooh. It's not cunt,
It's not cunt.
sadly.
Oh, fully.
No, it's not
Can you
cunt.
read it out again, please?
What is this word? No. This word starts with a C and ends with a T. It is something that can be wet and soft inside, but hairy on the outside.
Wet and soft inside. Am I eating it? Is that what the hint is?
You could eat it.
Is it edible?
Yeah. Actually, it is edible.
But like not, like you don't primarily eat it?
It needs to be put a certain way to be eaten. So legs spread usually. No, I'm joking.
Like upside down on your fucking ass.
Oh, shit.
Bro, like, I don't know.
No. All right, you ready? It is a coconut.
Oh, fuck off.
It's a coconut. What's that coconut song?
The coconuts are sitting on the coconut tree. That one?
No.
Ah.
It's like another one. It's like, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Oh my God, this has been so amazing. Coconuts.
Yeah, I've gone coconuts.
We're sponsored by them, not really.
Kookaburra sponsors me.
One day. But I just want to thank you so much for being
Thanks for having me. Oh my God, so awesome.
This is like so fun, like having all my best mates fucking on the pod.
And it's awesome, like speaking into this and then hearing this. Like I actually,
isn't it weird?
It's so great.
It's wigging me out.
It's weird, but it's like what exists outside this.
Like
I don't
how
know.
do you like get a voice in a chord?
Bro, it doesn't make. Dude, it's like how do you get music onto a CD?
Like how does petrol make a car go?
Bro, nothing makes any fucking sense.
Come and support Belle. She's a fucking legend, sick cunt, an all-round mad dog. But